Hello, my name is Rudy Woodridge from IRISS in Bradenton, Florida, and this is a 9-minute of knowledge on why conditioning maintenance inspections for electrical assets are a good idea for you and your facility. Electrical inspections have to be performed on energized equipment in order to get useful information. This is true for most types of electrical inspection: infrared, ultrasound, partial discharge testing. A lot of these cannot be done on equipment when it's de-energized because you're just simply not going to see anything. Energized inspections are time consuming, they can be risky for your personnel, and they can be costly for your company if they don't actually catch the problems that you're trying to detect. You have to schedule downtime with your maintenance personnel in order to perform a lot of de-energized maintenance tasks. And you have to train your people on how to do it safely. You may require job safety plans to be thoroughly vetted and written out so that you understand the risks involved in any given task. And you may also have to pull energized electrical work permits if you're going to do this work open panel and energized. And of course, your personnel have to be wearing PPE. They have to have the right level of arc flash incident energy protection type of equipment available and be wearing it when they're performing these tasks. There are risks associated with any kind of open panel work with arc flash and electrocution that have to be factored in as part of that job safety plan. And some things like stress testing, circuit testing, load bank testing, torque testing can cause problems, in fact, that didn't exist before. It's very easy to break something when you're trying to fix something else. So we want to try and avoid that if at all possible. The desired outcome, of course, is to confirm whether or not the equipment and the circuitry are in good operational, working condition. And sometimes, physical tests may not be the best way to actually ascertain that that's the case. So a lot of these technologies that are available can really help you do that. The other thing to keep in mind is that while we certainly have aging infrastructure in our facilities, age is not necessarily the primary driver of equipment failure. In fact, most equipment failures, almost over 80% of them, have nothing to do with how old the equipment is, but rather other factors that play into the equipment failing to provide its designed task over time. So we have an approach that we call critical asset surveillance technologies, and it's a risk-based, data-driven surveillance, and then if a problem is detected, repair model. And it uses condition-based tools to inspect your electrical assets and determine their relative health. The technologies involved are infrared, ultrasound, that can be airborne ultrasound or contact ultrasound. We can use motor current diagnostic tools, motor current analysis, motor current signature analysis, partial discharge testing, which is a little bit different than ultrasound. Can be involved in medium and high voltage equipment where we're actually trying to detect defects inside insulating materials of the equipment. We can use ultraviolet imaging cameras that will detect corona, primarily used in utility applications, but something that's useful nonetheless. Vibration analysis on a lot of equipment can detect problems. Contact ultrasound can be used in conjunction with vibration analysis on both mechanical and electromechanical assets. Alignment testing, oil analysis on transformers, of course, and then visual inspections. You should never discount your ability to catch problems with your senses. All right, you can catch a lot of things just by knowing what's normal and abnormal, by having a good understanding of the normal operating parameters of your assets. These condition-based tools enable electrical assets to be easily and most importantly safely inspected, and inspected at a higher frequency because it is so simple to do so, and you're doing it under normal operating load conditions, but without having to wear any kind of special PPE. So there are ways and means by which we can implement these technologies but keep your people safe. So we can do infrared. We're going to find high temperature, high resistance connections. Again, ultrasound. We're going to record electrically arcing, tracking, and corona. All three of those give off an ultrasound noise above the 20 kilohertz range, above the range of human hearing, but that we can detect using handheld ultrasound equipment. Partial discharge testing is specifically looking for discharges that are happening inside the insulating material of medium and high voltage equipment. Motor current analysis, again, we can hook up to our motors and diagnose when we're seeing unusual current and voltage activity in the power signature that the motor is drawing. Ultraviolet scans can pick up corona. It's a camera that looks at light above the visible range. And then, of course, visual inspection, as I mentioned before. There's a number of benefits to condition-based maintenance strategies. We can drive the inspection frequency up. So instead of doing it only once a year because insurance requires an annual inspection just so we can renew, we can look at doing more frequent inspections. We can inspect semi-annually on some assets. On more critical assets, we might go to quarterly or even monthly inspections. Things that, if they were to fail, will cause a significant impact to the facility and the facility's ability to operate, or could also have a human safety factor associated with their failure or an environmental impact from their failure. These are things that we want to inspect more frequently. And when we inspect more frequently, we will catch problems earlier in their life cycle, and we will be able to correct them accordingly. Right? If we go 12 months between inspections, a lot can happen in 12 months on an electrical asset. It could be perfectly fine today, but 9 months from now, it has manifested an issue which has gotten to the point where it's actually going to cause a functional failure. So increasing that inspection frequency can drive mean time between failure in the right direction. All these technologies, the idea behind them is to find problems before the failure occurs. That's what all these technologies can do. They get these early warning signs, these early signatures that there's a problem, and allow you to take a decision about corrective action. It removes the possibility of maintenance-induced errors, opening and closing panel doors, torquing connections that don't really need to be torqued and breaking something by accident. All of these kinds of problems can be eliminated by really only performing physical wrench turn type maintenance when we see something is wrong with the asset. Right? If I do infrared, if I do ultrasound, and I don't find anything wrong on my piece of switchgear, why would I go in there and tighten everything? The reality is that I can make a mistake, lose some parts in the process of putting it back together again, make it less safe than what it was before. The simplified inspection process is when you're using these electrical safety devices and condition-based strategies, ensure that the data that you're collecting is consistently done. Right? That data collection is done in a consistent manner so that you can really have trendable data that you can work from, and that you can really understand how an asset's health is deteriorating over time or holding stable, if the case may be that. You're increasing the safety of your personnel. We're not putting people at risk. You see these pictures here with in the upper area of this slide. This guy's got his full arc flash suit on, but he's doing the work open panel. That's inherently risky and dangerous. In the middle picture, we have someone who's working through a safety device, taking his infrared imaging, can do ultrasound through similar devices, listening into the equipment without ever having to crack the door. He doesn't have to wear anything in terms of incremental PPE. Right? So he's not working in an uncomfortable manner, and he's frankly isolated from the hazard. He's safer by doing it in this fashion. We see significant reductions in the amount of time necessary to actually perform the condition-based inspections when you start using safety devices. So you can go from several hundred hours to do a complete cycle and inspection of all your assets to a fraction of that. Often we see 90% reduction in the time spent actually collecting the data when you start doing it in a closed panel manner. All right, so obviously we're going to be saving you money, and we're reducing risk for the company as well when you take this approach. If you want more information on this topic, please visit our website. It's www.iriss.com, and we've got practical examples and case studies and application notes of how you can actually implement a risk-reduced condition-based monitoring approach for your facility. I hope you come and visit us. Thank you.